We're here now with Katrina Burgraff, who is our new mezzo-soprano who recently sang on the Estrellas Christmas concert. We're so glad to have you with us here today, Katrina.
Thank you. It was an honor. It was an honor to sing with the group.
Well, we are glad to have you as a part of the Estrellas family now.
I'm so happy to belong. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about, we're trying to get to know everybody a bit more, and can you tell us a little about your history as a singer, how you became a vocalist?
Yeah, well, my father had a beautiful voice, and there was always, there was always old blues music and jazz music and things like that, and Nat King Cole, Ella Fitzgerald playing in my house, and he, as a child, had wanted to become a singer, but in that time, gentleman needed a proper career, and so he went into radio and broadcast journalism and was a baseball announcer. So for me, there was always music, and everyone was using their voice in some wonderful way. And even now I listen to baseball on the radio. I don't particularly follow baseball, but I like the sound of it. It's like a symphony.
Oh, wow.
It reminds me of my dad. So that was the early years, and then, you know, just being in love with it enough to try it out in college, and I went to Colorado State University, and I have a vocal performance degree from there. And then I moved here and just started dipping my toe in the water. You know, there's so many beautiful churches that bring singers in and really foster a wonderful choral program. And so it's kind of how I got my chops. Was I started singing at the Church of the Incarnation in Dallas, and they had just a really old program of these beautiful old pieces, Elgar, Stanford, you know, things like that, and just learning that. And then Orpheus Chamber Singers popped up on the radar, and Dallas is such a great place to sing and live. There's so many wonderful groups to sing with, because then that turned into Dallas Bach Society, and it turned into Orchestra of New Spain, and just different groups and people who want to just create beautiful art and music. And so it's been many years now, and I'm very grateful to still be doing it.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
What are some of, among all these different groups that you've gotten the chance to sing with, what are some of the performances or works that you've gotten to perform that kind of stand out in your mind? You
know, it's funny, because you won't be able to talk to any musician soon without them going, ugh, another Messiah coming up. Oh, I've got to do Messiah for like the 30th time. And yet, I will tell you, there's a couple of Messiahs that I remember at the Meyerson, and one, it was completely sold out. It was right before COVID, and I just think it was a period where everyone needed that. And so to see the Meyerson, even the stuff behind, like the choral terrace behind, filled to the max, and everyone there. And you know, I get it. It's a marathon of a piece. And as a singer, we get a little jaded. We're like, oh, I gotta do the Messiah again this year. I'm sure players the same way. But there's something about getting to the final Amen. If you can get through that without getting a little bit tight in the throat, I salute you, because I still can't. It's still brilliant every year. It still shocks me. It still is like, oh, I made it. And also, wow, this is a brilliant composition. So that is, funnily enough, one of my favorites. But just the different kinds of music I get to do. I get to do everything from, you know, this Rachmaninoff, or these big giant choral works, or this like sacred music in these holy places in England when you go on tour with a church or something like that, to, you know, a new piece written by somebody. I did an amazing thing, Stimmung, with a group that was out of UNT, and they gathered a bunch of us, the Stockhausen piece, and we sat on pillows in a circle on the floor at the Undermain Theater, and organically just created an hour-long Stimmung. And we did it twice, and it wasn't the same piece either night. And to this day, I still have my little flashcards, because instead of like my typical score where I'm supposed to be reading and following the rules. This was more like, oh, well, here you're going to yell out Quetzalcoatl, and then you're going to like go on a little, it's almost like scat, but Stimmung scat. So it was like, yeah, so like a classically weird sort of, where you just take it and then the person next to you would take it and it would just turn into a meditative experience that was one of the coolest things I've ever done, and completely different from the Messiah.
Yeah, but how cool to get to do all these different kind of things.
Right.
People like the gossip and stuff. Have you ever had a concert or a performance where something just went really kind of off the rails and went...
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. There was one that is so funny. My friends and I still laugh about it. Whenever we see those wicker chairs with the button in the middle, there was a concert, and there was a very eclectic conductor, and we were up touring, and so we were in New Orleans at the time. We took it to Houston, Dallas, and New Orleans, and we were in New Orleans, and he wanted to showcase the old instruments because they were Baroque period and earlier. So really interesting instruments, and he wanted to showcase them, but we all know you can't put instruments in front of the voice and hear the voice. So what he decided to do was still keep the instruments in the front and lift the voice, but the only way to lift us in a flat space was to let us stand on chairs. And so we're all in our concert black, pretty, pantyhose, all the things. And we had to come out and like kick our shoes off, because if you'd gotten your heel stuck in the wicker, it would have been real bad. And we had to like gracefully step up onto these like wicker chairs and then sing like with that kind of creaky, balancy noise. I'm sure I got like a killer core workout, like singing, this old Spanish Baroque music, like standing on a chair. So we still laugh about some of the fun experiences we've had. That was a particularly fun one. So the music was still beautiful, so it doesn't matter. No one fell off their chair, so there you go. That was winning.
It has a happy ending.
It did.
So when you're not spending all of your time going to all these various gigs and seeing these different kinds of works, like, do you have a day job or something different that you...
Well, I recently, in the last several years, have discovered a passion for outreach. And so the different groups that I sing with have outreach programs and allow me to go and coach in schools. And so I've been going into a middle school in South Dallas, Oak Cliff, and also a high school with another group. And just getting the opportunity to work with kids who are... I love middle school. I know that sounds strange, but they're so crazy. They're just at this point where they're like... And boys and girls, it's a different kind of nuts, but I love them both. I mean, I love the passion, I love the dedication, I love their humor, and maybe it's because, I'm done with the parenting thing, I've got a little distance, I'm like, y'all are so funny, I'm going to leave now. So yeah, I mean, there could be something to that, but it's a joy to go in, and then the high school kids it's a humbling experience to see kids with such desire and needs, and if I can meet even the most basic ones, it's been a real joy. So I've been going and doing that, and then I always called myself a Lebenskünstler, which is a life quilter. And so I have never been great with the whole 9-to-5 thing, because it doesn't allow me to jump in the car and go to Colorado and see my mom, but I quilt together my life very meticulously. So it's like, I sound like a free spirit, but if you look at my calendar, it's really not a free spirit. I have to like block out free spirit time, like meticulously go, now I get to just be a free spirit. But I take the time to pick up little strange here and there gigs and things like that. And it's kind of interesting. I sing a lot of weddings and funerals, and weddings are fun and beautiful. Everybody knows that. But I actually love singing funerals because I feel like I'm actually needed, Weddings are chaos, and if they even remember you're there, you're lucky. But funerals, they're seeking, there's a need, they need that comfort, and so it's actually an honor to provide that. So it's another thing that I pick up a lot of, so.
Yeah, a real catharsis. I think that happens a lot of times.
Absolutely. I have to remember it's not about me in a lot of situations, just so I don't become too self-indulgent. It's easy to do that with any kind of singing, like, oh, this is so special to me and meaningful to me that I forget I'm there as a conduit. So, and it's an honor to do that job. So, yeah.
So if you hadn't become a vocalist,
Yes.
would you? Well, first of all, do you play another instrument, or have you played another?
When I was young, I mean, and obviously as a vocalist, we all had to go through piano. I'm quite miserable, but I did get through the piano proficiency, doggone. And I can play for the kids, the warm-ups and things like that, but you really don't want to hear me play the piano in concert ever. And as a child, I played the flute, and I loved it. I played it probably through junior high, and it's interesting. I broke some fingers during COVID. I'm a very graceful human being, and I might have tripped and fallen when I was out running. But I broke some fingers, and to rehab, I got the old flute out and dusted it off, and can play probably at like a elementary school level. But it's fun, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, if you hadn't pursued a life as a singer, what do you think you might be doing?
It's funny. I actually really wanted to be a journalist, but I wanted to be like the newspaper journalist, the kind that barely exists anymore. Nobody really takes the paper these days, but traveling and writing and reading are still passions of mine. And so something involving getting to travel and read a lot and write would be a very lovely way to while away a lifetime, and also if anyone ever wanted to pay me to become a professional walker, I have to walk for my own sanity every day, at least an hour. And so
dog walker or just walker in general? Like if they'll walk for you.
I'm actually in a music group that goes on walking pilgrimages and sings. And it's one of the most special groups that I'm in. And we just gather. I've done the Wicklow Way in Ireland. I've done the Camino twice now. And we just walk. And then we'll just be like, hey, this is pretty in the woods here. And we'll stop and everybody will get their tuning forks and we'll sing. And then we'll move on and continue thusly until we arrive in Santiago. And we would usually have a concert lined up to do with all that music we've been practicing. But walking, I mean, like just being outside, really. Honestly, I have to be outside a lot just to be happy. So that's why I'm that crazy lady in the summertime with the ice-filled water pack and walking when it's like 1,000,000 degrees.
Well, that is your option here in Texas. Walking in Ireland, you wouldn't have to have the ice pack.
No. And why I just got back from Colorado where it was beautiful walking up there. So, yeah. But just traveling and reading and writing and things like that, being outside.
So are there any common misperceptions that people in the public might have about what it takes to be a vocalist, or the things that you might be called on to do, or anything about your working life as a musician?
I guess one is, it's sort of interesting. I would tell people I was a singer and they would always say, so you love American Idol? Or do you want to be on American Idol? And I am not trashing those kind of shows or talent competitions or anything like that. People want to make music. That's lovely and wonderful. But I guess just what I love about music is the amount of studiousness that it takes to create the kind of music that I absolutely love creating. So it's like a little bit of you need to want it enough to put a little extra study into it. And it's not instant and it's not quick and easy, and you can have a great voice and still not be great at it. You still have to work really hard. Like Bach is homework, and Bach is the best homework there is. I mean, Jesu meine Freude is absolutely my hands down favorite piece of music, and I'd sing it every day if I could, but it is not easy. And so I just think there's a balance between like just this joyful release of sound, and then this next step, which makes what you're hearing that just blows you away at some concerts just secretively amazing to be a part of, and to know, wow, I just did that. That was so hard, and somehow I learned it and I practiced it, and I thought, I'm never going to get this, and I'm banging my head on the piano at home thinking, I'm never going to get this. And then we do it, and it's sort of, and it's this community that's doing it together, which is just as special as ever, that I think people don't realize what's happening, how hard the work is, but how communal it is. So, yeah.
What's different about performing with an instrumental ensemble as opposed to singing with a choir or a vocal group?
It was sort of a lovely, like a break, because singers we're a different kind of like animal. Oh, my throat, I felt a tickle. The dust is so high today. I've been gargling warm salt water, and I know we're like the most annoying people ever. I mean, like, as the weather changes, I mean, in Texas it's hilarious too. It like drops to 70 degrees and all the singers put their scarves on, and because we're like, I can't make money if I can't sing. So everyone's like super, just like, I've got to have my thieves and my steamer and my tea, and just like a little bit neurotic. But like instrumentalists are kind of like party animals. I mean, they just like joke and laugh, and then they're like and they're like I always kind of envy that when you see them down there in the pit like reading, and we're like sweating and singing, and like, I think I'm a little scratchy, I'm just a tad bit hoarse, I'm gonna have to mark, and they're like, whatever, I think it's kind of a fun combination. Plus it's fun when we can be friends and not be like versus each other. So it was really fun and chill, and I didn't have to be like, part of this whole like paranoid group of people like, are we gonna have a break? I need a break, is there some warm tea, things like that. So just people who are like, hey, I got brownies, sandwiches. And everyone's like, oh, no dairy before I sing, I'm like, so it was nice to be with people like, yeah, I'll have a cookie. That sounds good. Sounds really good. So it was fun.